next episode of the Everyday Sewist. I'm Stephanie, and we are here today in my basement studio, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of my projects with you that I've finished over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully you'll get some good inspiration and enjoy seeing some projects that you might want to try to do yourself. Most of my projects are pretty simple. I don't do a lot of very complex piecing. I do almost exclusively patchwork at the moment. I haven't really done very much in the way of applique or anything like that, but I am trying to improve some of my skills in doing some improv blocks and quilting, and so you might see those from time to time. So let's get started, and let me show you. First of all, behind me is a finish from not too long ago, last year, and I saw it on Instagram by, I think her name is Melissa. Her first name is, I think it's Melissa. Anyway, I will link it in the description box, but she had posted this wonderful 9-patch quilt, and I decided that I wanted to make that as well. So this quilt finishes at 66 by 78. I made 6-inch 9-patch blocks, and we're going to be talking a little bit about 9 patches today because I have a couple of other 9-patch projects to share with you as well. So that's one reason why I chose this one. But these are 6-inch blocks, and they are set 11 across and 13 rows for a total of 143 blocks. And this project, like I said, it was inspired by a post on Instagram, but it was also inspired by wanting to use up some charm packs that I had of like this fabric, and these were all leftover charms that I had from another project. And I just thought they would fit really beautifully into here. And you do cut, because it's a 6-inch block, you are cutting 2.5-inch squares. So when I cut my pieces for these blocks, I could get the 4 squares that I needed for that position. I could get those 4 squares out of a charm square. A charm square is a 5-inch square of fabric. And then for the backgrounds on this, I had a lot of fun pulling a whole bunch of different novelty prints, conversation prints, I think is what they used to be called. And so I pulled out like this one that has the little bears, honey bears on it. I pulled out this other one with bears. I pulled out this one with horses. I actually think I was working on this quilt last year around the time of the Kentucky Derby. So I thought that was really fun to put in that print with the horses in it. So it was a really fun one to make. Like I said, it's simple patchwork is what I really love to do. I finished it with it's like a double rainbow kind of a quilting pattern on my long arm. And let's show the back for you. The backing is this print from Anna Maria Horner, when she was Anna Maria Horner, now Anna Maria Perry. And so this was from a couple of fabric lines ago from her. The binding is just this cute little black with stars in it. I liked having all of the black in here. That was kind of a different thing for me to do it like that. And but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's a really good size. It almost fits. It fits the top of a queen size bed with no drape, no extra hanging over the sides. So and it was a good size for me. I wanted to stop at that point, and I wasn't trying to make a queen size quilt out of it. So I love 9 patches, and that was a super fun one to make. So as a little bit of a review, last month I had 19 projects on my list. And that just means those are projects that I want to touch at some point over the month. I ended up finishing 13 of those projects, and a couple of them just had bindings left to do. And so I'm going to be showing you those projects in just a minute. But out of those 19, I ended up getting to work on all but 2 of them. So that's not too bad. So I moved forward all the projects that didn't get done last month, and I added a few more, which I'm going to show you today. I have a couple of things that I started, and I also pulled out a few things that I know I'm going to need, or I guess I know I need to work on them. I want to work on them sometime this fall. So thinking of a larger time span, not just what's going to be happening the next couple of weeks. Sometimes I get a lot done and sometimes I don't. And this time I felt like I really wasn't getting a lot done, but I'll show you what I've got. So the first thing that I needed to finish was the binding on this hearts quilt. And I know I've showed this before, but I just thought I would show you the final product here because it's all quilted and bound. So for one last showing of this cute little hearts quilt, this was the second in a series. I had made another one previously that was a little bit smaller. This one finished at 54 by 61, and this is my 28th finish of the year. It has a wonderful flannel backing on it, and I love the quilting pattern for it. It's called Whipped Cream, like I said, the only thing I needed to do on this one was to finish the binding on it to have a finish for it. The next one that I finished, oh, and that heart pattern it's just a standard heart pattern. I didn't use any particular pattern for it. In the previous episode, I did put a reference for a really good heart pattern if you need it. So I can do that again. So the next thing that I also just had to bind was this adorable little ghosties. And this ghosties is this pattern. I think last time I just showed it as a top, and now I have it all quilted and bound. And this one finishes at 16 by 57. I wanted to make all my ghosts different, but the pattern shows them all the same. But I just had this really cute collection of novelty prints, and I wanted to use them. I quilted it with a design that has spiders and bats and bugs and things like that in it. And so, and I also really liked the purple that I used for the background. I think that was really kind of a fun choice for that. So that was the other one that I got finished, quilted and bound. And then the next project that I did it's another Villa Rosa pattern. And let me see what happened to that one. I think I'll have to go and get that pattern for you later and reference it. It's called Crisscross, and it called for a charm pack. So, but it only needed half of a charm pack. So I split the charm pack up into 2. I found totally different background fabrics to use for this. totally different borders. On this one, I kind of pulled out more of the greens and set a little bit more of the greens aside. And on this one, I kept it kind of light and bright. And so, a fabulous pattern. It was really fun to make. Each of these, I think it was just like a 1 day project to make the runner itself and then get them onto the long arm. And I used the same pattern on each, but different backing fabrics. Again, it was really great to be able to dig into my stash and to make those. Those were really, really fun. So those were my other 2 finishes for last month. So let me show you what I'm currently working on. I think I showed this one before as a kit. It's called Season's Greetings. So when I got the kit, I got it in Halloween fabrics. And I liked doing it so much that I went ahead and I made it in a Christmas version as well. So I started these very recently, and all I've gotten as far as getting them assembled, quilted, but not bound. So this is the way they look coming off of my long arm. They've still need to be trimmed up, and I can show you the quilting pattern on these as well, since I have it in my hand here. So this one used sort of kind of had like a little bit of a spirally design on it. And these are all about this, all my runners are about the same size. This one, it says 13 by 45. However, they did not put a border on theirs and I wanted a border. So mine is, again, it's about 20 by 50. So here's my Halloween one. And then I dug into my stash and picked out 5 fabrics, because that's all it needs, 5 fabrics for a Christmas version. And I'm really, really happy with those. So again, this goes on to my list for finishing up this month. And again, the pattern on that one is called Season's Greetings. I also want to show you my temperature quilt. And this is going to be my work in progress for the whole year. But now I have all the months up through August on here. So I have 8 columns now. And so I'll show it to you this time, but then I won't show it to you again until I get to where I have 9 columns on it. This is my little tag that tells me where January 1st is. And so I had posted on Instagram what it looks like. So if you want to see it kind of laid out and see that post on Instagram, I am at ST Brokaw, and I update my temperature quilt there once a month as well. So I am keeping up with that. So that's 243 days worth of temperatures being recorded on that quilt. So I'm really pleased with myself that I'm keeping up with it, because when I started it, as you can see, I have lots of unfinished projects and things that kind of get pushed aside. So the fact that I'm really keeping up with this is impressive for me. I don't know how you all keep up with some things. I'm not always very good with it. So I'm really pleased that I have kept going with it so far. So that's going. And then I have my 2 runners that I'm going to do and my temperature quilt that I'm continuing to work on. I have another one called Offset, which is a leader ender, and it's a little one. I'll show it next time, but I am still working on that. And then I have a couple of new starts that I wanted to show you. Before I do that, I want to just show you one little thing. One of my goals was to do something with this bin of Halloween fabrics. And I mentioned that last time and showed it to you. And here I am. I've made a table runner, and I have these 2 more projects that I'm going to show you today. And this bin is still chock-a-block full. It looks like I have not used a thing. And it's always amazing to me. I think that's one of the big quilters' conundrums, how we can sew and sew and sew with something, trying to empty out a bin, and it's just as full as it ever was. Can you relate to that? Anybody else have that problem? So here is my next little project. This is called Staccato. And I took a little trip up to Lebanon, Indiana a few days ago and saw my friend Connie there, and at Quilts Plus. She had a cute little sample of this. So I bought the background fabric from her and the pattern, and then I am using my Halloween fabrics that I am trying to use up. And this is as far as I've gotten. So I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 rows together so far. And it's coming along, and it's pretty easy to cut and sew. So it's been pretty fun to sew, and that's when I get some progress made on some of my other little projects in between. And so I should have that one done in the next couple of weeks. The only thing I did differently on this is going to be 63 by 75 if you do all of the columns, and there's 14 columns. I'm only going to do 13 columns. I just feel like it's going to be better balanced, and I'm going to just stick with the 13 columns. That's a really good one for using good sized chunks of fabric. As you can see, the sample on the pattern was done in purples and greens, and I'm doing Halloween. So I could see doing this one again with some of my Christmas stash. I could see doing it with some of my flannel stash, which I'm going to show you a little bit more of. All these things that are in the works that are possibilities for future projects. The next one is a disappearing 9-patch. Have you heard of a disappearing 9-patch? For this one, I am starting with 9-patch blocks made with charm squares. So I cut my own 5-inch squares from this bin that I just showed you, that's still not as empty as I would like. So I have all of these. And what happens once you make these 9 patches, then you cut them. And so when you cut them into horizontal and vertical. And because this is a 14-inch block, when it's before it gets cut, it's a 14-inch block. So I measured over 7 inches and cut this way, measured up 7 inches and cut across. Now, what you can do with this is once you cut it, let me just rearrange it here and show you, you can it's kind of a quick and easy. And now I flipped those two pieces around, and now I have a whole different design. And this is the layout that I'm going to go with. And I'm probably going to mix up all of my backgrounds. You see, I have different backgrounds in my blocks, and I'm using all oranges or greens in the corners, as I had showed you here. Here's one of the green ones, all oranges and greens, and always black in the center. I didn't want the black to be too overpowering, so I thought that if I used a lot of the very light and whites here, and then just used a little bit of the black in the corner, because the center square, so here's one of the keys. If you aren't familiar with a disappearing 9 patch, the square that you put into the center is the one that gets cut up into 4 pieces. Okay, the ones that are on the middles get cut and form what we would usually call the sashing. So those middle pieces are here. And if you have fabrics that you want to feature or you don't want to have cut, you put those into the corners and they stay whole. So again, I think this is a really fun one to make, and it goes pretty easily. Just last night, after I finished cutting a few of these, I finished cutting most of the squares. I just wanted to make a few blocks to be able to show you today. And so in a very short time, you can sew these nice big 9 patches. Remember, those are 5-inch squares. You could change the size of the squares, and if you change the size of the squares, you still have to find the middle of the block to make your cuts. If I can find a reference sheet somewhere for like different size squares to use for this, I will put it into the description box. I'm not sure I have seen one, but I could look for one. The nice thing about the 5-inch squares is that you don't end up with too small a piece when this one gets cut up into 4. If I go too much smaller, you could end up with teeny tiny pieces in the corners. So again, 9 patches. Love, love, love my 9 patches. So that leads me to another charm pack project. I have had a bunch of these charm packs forever. I don't even know when it came out. Years. I've had this for years. It's called Front Porch, and it just has beautiful soft colors. Very, very pretty soft colors, and some reds, but the reds are really soft. The reds are not really bright. So I finally found a project that I wanted to make with it, which was not the project that I originally intended. So, as always, Moda comes through. Moda Fabrics has fabulous sew-alongs and fabulous projects, and so I just recently, in the last couple weeks, came across this one from, it's called Charm Friday, and it was a summer charm quilt along. Somehow I never picked up on it. I never had seen it. I think it was from this year, and I never saw it. So I am using my charm packs, and I'm using a whole bunch of this calls for 2-inch squares. I have a whole container of 2-inch squares. So I'm starting with those to make the 9 patches. Get these out and show you a few. And again, I've only just started this in the last week or so. Little 9 patches compared to the other ones. And so I'm making them in a lot of soft colors. Since this gets set on point, on a diagonal, I can show you a little bit here what happens. So what I've figured out from the directions, and I'll just mention this quickly for you, is that the 9 patches are not all the same. There are 9 patches with dark corners, like this in this row, and then in the next row, the 9 patches have light corners with dark in the sides. So you'll be making an equal number, pretty much equal number of 9 patches with dark and 9 patches with light in the corner. And that's how you get this diagonal line that I really, really like. And so that's my plan. And I also wanted to show you, here's my little bin. It's one of those drawer units. This is how I store my squares. I have one of those drawer units with all different size squares. So there's a 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3.5, and 4.5. And anything that is that size gets tossed into this little drawer. It is not organized by color. It is not really even organized by what it is, except that this will be a 2-inch square. And so I know people are always curious about how other quilters will organize their scraps and their stash. And so here's one little peek at the way I have collected my bits. Now, I did just recently take all the strips out of here, and so the 2-inch strips are in a different drawer from the squares and the half square triangles. And in other drawers, I'd probably find like leftover flying geese units and just all kinds of stuff. So I am digging through this bin, and that's why I had that out. I'm digging through this to get my 2-inch squares to make my little 9 patches. And then I am using my charm squares, because this finishes at the same size. See? Same size, 5-inch. I'm using my charm packs for the alternate square for this. And I think it's going to be really pretty. I want it to be kind of softly colored. And so that will take me a while to go through that. The pattern, as Moda wrote it, again, it's like a throw size, 58 by 70. If I enjoy it the way I am right now, I think I will go ahead and make it queen size, which means I need 4 times as much. So not twice as much, not 3 times as much, well, maybe 3 times as much. If you take 58 by 70 and you only make twice as many, you would have something that is about 108 wide, but it would still only be 70 inches long. That would be twice. So I can do a little math for you on this. I will put it into the description box. I'm generally not afraid of math, and it's usually right, but don't hold me to it. So that is one of my new starts that I'm really excited about and very happy with. Over the last couple of weeks, I have a couple of projects that I haven't touched at all because I keep doing things like starting this one, and I started the disappearing 9 patch, and that's kind of how I roll. I just start new things and I finish as I can. So I have Meadowland that hasn't gotten any attention. My plus quilt, I got a border on it, but I haven't made the backing for it yet. I have some 4 patches that I haven't really made any more blocks for those, and I haven't made any more string blocks, and I haven't made any more of these little dancing charm blocks since last time, since I did quite a longer description and tutorial on this within the last video. What I found out is I thought, oh, on some of my scraps, I would like to just cut 3.5-inch squares instead of starting with 5-inch squares. I thought, oh, I'll just cut my own because some of my scraps aren't big enough for 5-inch squares. And I thought, oh, I'll just cut my own 3.5-inch squares. Then I will go ahead and I will find some smaller strips from my 1.5-inch bin and make them just from the very, very start of, instead of the way I had been doing it. The way I had been doing it was that I would cut 5-inch squares of 2 fabrics and cut a 1.5-inch off of the top and then a 1.5-inch off the side, and flip those, switch those around and get 2 blocks out of it. Well, like I said, I thought I wanted to try using up some of my 3.5-inch squares, but it ended up bringing me to a complete halt on that project. And this is all I got done on it in the last 3 weeks. So lesson learned for me, I'm better off using the 5-inch squares and at least getting a whole nice stack very quickly of these, and then going to my 1.5-inch drawer, strip drawer. But I'm better off at least getting this part done much more quickly. And it's funny to me how sometimes things will get you stalled out before you even realize it. And for me, cutting the 3.5-inch squares and the 1.5-inch strips for this got to be a stall point. So probably not going to do it that way anymore because I still need to add the 1.5-inch strips that go around this. Some of you may wonder about, like, how do I have so many like stacks of blocks that are ready to go, that are like leftovers or whatever. And most of the time they are from leftover from projects where I didn't use them. And so this is a good example. I made a quilt with these rectangle blocks 2 years ago. Finished it like last January. These are the blocks that I did not use in that quilt because I kind of changed and adjusted my color scheme. Here's a pretty good size stack of blocks, and I did a little bit of calculating. I could have a decent sized quilt and use those up. Again, I was digging around in my flannels because I'm starting to think about flannels. I found a pile of 56 7-inch squares already cut. These definitely need to be made into something, maybe 9 patches with alternate squares. I don't know yet, but that was left over from a project. And then I had this other one that I did. It was called Jelly Roll Ripple. And again, I changed my color scheme. I have a big stack of these blocks, all in reds. Leftovers will give me a big head start on making something else, and that's sometimes how I get something done fairly fast. I have this adorable collection of flannel fabrics, but I don't think you can find these anymore. And so I have this tub that I've had collected for quite a while, and I think what I want to do is I think I want to cut these all up into either 3.5 by 6.5 inch bricks, or maybe 6.5 by 12.5 inch bricks. And right now, they're calling these bricks, they're calling them potato chips, just chips. And you can make them any size you want. And I did show one of them a while ago, and I had used what is like a more standard size of a chip, and they were cut 2.5 by 4.5. It would be really fun to try one like this. I will need to find out where I got this from. I think it was from Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda, and some other of the viewers there had designed some of these, so I'll have to find and give proper credit to them. So I am thinking that these flannels would be really nice to just cut up into bigger pieces and make that block. And like I said, you could do 6.5 by 12.5, you could do 5 by 9.5, you could do 3.5 by 6.5. The general rule is that the finished size, the length needs to be twice as much as the width. So that's why I'm saying 3 by 6 is the finished size, and then you would add your seam allowance. So that's another potential project. So in this one little bin here, I have 4 batches of either leftovers or things that I've been wanting to get to. That would keep me busy, wouldn't it? I also remembered that I had this panel for Halloween. And so I think over the next couple of weeks, I would like to figure out what I want to do with that panel. So several things like that have made it onto my new list for the month. I don't know that I will get to all of them, but maybe I'll get to putting them up on my design wall and making some decisions about them and trying to figure out what I'm going to do next with them. I went to Wisconsin to go to see the Great Wisconsin Quilt Show last weekend. It was super fun. Great show. They did such a nice job setting up that show. It was really fun. Lots and lots of vendors. I decided to get this ruler from Deb Tucker because I want to make this star. I think this star is fabulous, and there's all these variations, and the ruler comes with the instructions to make that. And I think I'm thinking about either making a 4-block quilt with this or using this as a center block for a medallion quilt. I'm very excited about trying out this new ruler. And I picked up a couple little patterns. Again, this could be a really great little table topper as it is, or I could make it into the center medallion. And I couldn't resist getting this one for these little ghosties, so I'll probably try making those. And these are tiny. It's called inch by inch, so I think these are made with little 1.5 inch squares. And then I saw this quilt at the Me and My Stitches booth that was spectacular with this dark, rich background. So this might be a good winter project. And again, I think the sewing on it will be fairly simple. And so that was it. That's all I got at the show. But I love collecting ideas like that and seeing what will happen with those. So I have lots of things that are on my September list, right? 19 projects. The next time I'm here sharing with you, hopefully I will have some of those done. I will have the bindings done on those runners and have those ready. And I also need to figure out what my next big project is. Since I finished the bow tie quilt last time, I will probably fairly soon pull out another really large UFO that needs to get done. And I have several to choose from. So, in wrapping up today, I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who are watching and who have subscribed. And thank you for all your comments. They're so fun to read, and I love hearing about the things that you're doing. Love hearing where you're from, and whether it's Australia. And there was a gal from Australia that popped in, and so it's really fun to hear about all of that. So I'd like to say a thank you to some of the new subscribers. Thank you, Denise, Teddy Wares, Bethany, Maggie Rose, Nina, Loves Pets, Lycan, Dawn, Annika, Lisa, Barbara, Patricia, and Rhonda. Thanks all of you for being here. And until next time, I hope you can come back and join me and find out what I'm working on. So thanks for being here. Thank you from the Everyday Sewist. Bye-bye.